The Los Angeles Dodgers empire is experiencing seismic shifts that could shake the very foundation of their championship dreams. And folks, what we're witnessing right now might just redefine the entire 2026 season before it even begins. Buckle up, because the drama unfolding in Chavez Ravine is absolutely explosive, and you're not going to believe where this story takes us. Let's start with the bombshell that has Dodgers management pulling their hair out. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the ace, the lion, the World Series MVP who carried this team to glory just months ago, has made it crystal clear that he's suiting up for Team Japan in the World Baseball Classic, and the Dodgers front office is reportedly less than thrilled about this development. This isn't just any pitcher we're talking about here. This is the guy who threw more innings than anyone else in that rotation last year, racking up 30 starts during the regular season and logging a staggering 173 innings. But wait, it gets even more intense. Add another 37-plus innings from the postseason, and you're looking at a workhorse who delivered over 211 innings of pure dominance in 2025. Now here's where it gets absolutely wild. As soon as the confetti settled from the World Series victory, Yamamoto didn't stick around Los Angeles to celebrate or rest those golden arms. Nope, he immediately flew back to Japan and started preparing for the World Baseball Classic. The man has told the Dodgers organization in no uncertain terms that he's going to give everything he's got for Team Japan. This isn't about baseball politics or contract negotiations. This is about culture, tradition, and national pride. For Yamamoto, wearing the Japanese national team uniform isn't just an honor, it's practically a sacred duty, and he's not about to let his country down regardless of what his American employers might prefer. The logistics of this situation are creating a scheduling nightmare that would make even the most experienced baseball operations team sweat. According to World Baseball Classic regulations, any player participating in the tournament must report to their team's spring training facility on February 11th. But here's the kicker. Yamamoto then has to be back in Tokyo by February 14th to open Team Japan's training camp. So essentially, he'll show up to Dodgers camp, probably get a quick physical examination to make sure everything's in working order, exchange some pleasantries with his teammates, and then he's on the next flight back across the Pacific Ocean. Team Japan's group play runs from March 5th through the 10th in Tokyo, meaning Yamamoto will be throwing competitive innings in high-pressure international competition, while other Dodgers pitchers are still working on their mechanics in low-stakes spring training games. The Dodgers are walking an incredibly fine tightrope here. They're trying to chase their third consecutive World Series championship and their 10th franchise title in history, yet their best pitcher is about to add significant mileage to his arm before the season even officially begins. After already pushing past 200 innings in what was essentially a shortened offseason because of their deep playoff run, Yamamoto is diving right back into competitive baseball. The wear and tear implications are genuinely concerning for a team that has championship aspirations riding on his right arm. But here's a potential silver lining that nobody seems to be talking about, and it might just be the Dodgers' secret weapon for managing this precarious situation. If you actually examine the Los Angeles schedule for April and May, there's a pattern that could be absolutely crucial. The Dodgers are off almost every single Thursday except for 1 week. This built-in rest day could be a total game changer for managing their pitching staff, especially the Japanese arms who are accustomed to pitching once a week in Japan's professional leagues rather than the American 5-day rotation system. Roki Sasaki and Yamamoto both grew up in a baseball culture where starting pitchers work once every 7 days, not every 5. These Thursday off days give the Dodgers flexibility to potentially run a 6 or even 7-man rotation in the early months, providing extra rest for arms that might be fatigued from international competition or simply adjusting to the grueling Major League schedule. Speaking of Roki Sasaki, the Phenom has decided not to participate in the World Baseball Classic, which, honestly, might be a blessing in disguise for the Dodgers. Having at least one of their Japanese superstars fully focused on preparing for the Major League season provides some insurance against the risks of international tournament wear and tear. Meanwhile, Shohei Ohtani will be joining Yamamoto on Team Japan, creating what might be the most star-studded roster in World Baseball Classic history, and definitely making Japan the overwhelming favorite to win the whole tournament. Now let's talk about what the World Baseball Classic has actually done for baseball as a whole, because this context matters when we're discussing why Yamamoto feels so strongly about participating. There's a legitimate argument to be made that the World Baseball Classic didn't just rejuvenate baseball, it practically saved the sport from becoming completely stagnant and irrelevant to younger generations. Before the WBC, baseball had developed this reputation as boring, slow, emotionless, a game where players were expected to act like robots and never show personality or passion. The tournament completely shattered those outdated expectations. Suddenly, we were seeing players pointing toward their dugouts after big hits, doing elaborate celebrations, showing raw emotion, and guess what? Fans absolutely loved it. This is where all those wild celebrations we see today actually originated. The bat flips, the hip locks, the choreographed team celebrations that the Dodgers have become famous for, all of that traces back to the World Baseball Classic, giving players permission to actually enjoy themselves and show personality. Latin American countries had always celebrated with passion, but the tournament opened the door for American players, Asian players, and athletes from all over the world to express themselves without fear of being labeled as disrespectful or unprofessional. The World Baseball Classic fundamentally changed baseball culture, and that energy is translated directly into regular season games, making the sport more entertaining and accessible to new generations of fans. But while the tournament has been incredible for baseball's global growth and entertainment value, it creates a genuine dilemma for major league teams trying to protect their investments and win championships. The Dodgers are caught in this impossible situation where they want to support Yamamoto's desire to represent his country, they understand the cultural significance, they respect his commitment, but they also have hundreds of millions of dollars invested in keeping him healthy and effective for a grueling 162-game season, plus hopefully a long playoff run. Fortunately, there are some safeguards built into the World Baseball Classic structure specifically to address these concerns. Tournament organizers and team managers are acutely aware that these players need to return to their clubs in good condition, so there are regulations limiting innings, restricting how many consecutive days a pitcher can work, and generally protecting arms from overuse. Most WBC managers are incredibly respectful of the fact that their players have primary obligations to their professional teams, and they manage pitch counts and workloads accordingly. This isn't some rogue tournament where managers are going to burn through Yamamoto's arm just to win a few games. There's genuine institutional awareness about protecting these valuable assets. The Dodgers' opening day is scheduled for March 26th, when they'll host the Arizona Diamondbacks at Dodger Stadium for the ring ceremony celebrating their 2025 championship. By that point, the World Baseball Classic will be over, and theoretically, Yamamoto should have had at least a couple weeks to reset, decompress, and prepare for the Major League season with his club. Whether that's enough time after the physical and emotional intensity of international competition remains to be seen. But the Dodgers are clearly banking on their scheduling advantages and rotation flexibility to manage the situation. Now, while Yamamoto's World Baseball Classic commitment is creating anxiety in the front office, there's another situation developing that represents the end of an era for a once promising Dodgers prospect. Bobby Miller, who just a couple years ago looked like he might be the heir apparent to Clayton Kershaw, appears to be on his way out of Los Angeles, and the destination is reportedly the north side of Chicago. The Cubs are actively interested in acquiring Miller's services, and honestly for Bobby, a change of scenery might be exactly what his career desperately needs right now. Let's rewind to 2023, because understanding how far Bobby Miller has fallen requires remembering just how high he once soared. That season, Miller was absolutely brilliant, winning 11 games with a respectable 3.76 ERA. People were genuinely asking whether this kid might develop into an ace-level pitcher who could anchor the Dodgers' rotation for years to come. The talent was obvious, the performance was there, and the future looked incredibly bright. Fast forward to the present, and the story couldn't be more different or more disappointing. Since that breakthrough 2023 campaign, Bobby Miller has made just 14 starts over the course of 2 years. 14 starts in 2 seasons for a guy who was supposed to be a cornerstone of the rotation. His record during that stretch is an ugly 2-4, but the really alarming number is his ERA, which has ballooned into double digits. Something went catastrophically wrong, and it's been a painful downward spiral to witness. The kid will turn 27 in April, so theoretically he should be entering his prime years, but instead he's being shopped to other teams because there simply isn't room for him in the Dodgers' plans anymore. The cruel irony of Bobby Miller's demise with the Dodgers involves, of all teams, the Chicago Cubs. Last spring, when it looked like Miller might be working his way back and trying to recapture that 2023 magic, he got drilled by a line drive during a spring training game against the Cubs. That one moment, that one unlucky play, essentially wrecked his entire 2025 season before it even began. The injury derailed his development, shattered his confidence, and basically sealed his fate with the organization. Now, in a twist that almost seems scripted, the very team whose batter hit that line drive is the one potentially giving him a second chance at salvaging his career. For the Cubs, the interest makes perfect sense from a low-risk, high-reward perspective. They're looking for starting pitching. They need someone who can eat innings and fill out the back end of their rotation, and Bobby Miller represents a lottery ticket that could potentially pay off big time. He's not going to be their ace, nobody's expecting that, but if he can stabilize as a 4th or 5th starter and give them quality innings, that's a win. Maybe a change of environment, different coaching, a fresh start away from the pressure and expectations in Los Angeles, maybe all of that allows Miller to rediscover whatever made him so effective just a few short years ago. When Bobby Miller was at his absolute best, he genuinely looked like ace material. And the Cubs are betting that version of him still exists somewhere underneath the struggles and the injuries. The deal isn't finalized yet. It's still in the negotiation phase. But we do have some intel on who the Dodgers might be targeting in return. And there are two names floating around. It'll be one or the other, not both. So let's break down what each player brings to the table. The first option is Kevin Alcantara, a 23-year-old outfielder from the Dominican Republic. And no, he's not related to Sandy Alcantara of the Marlins, in case you were wondering. Alcantara is an absolute physical specimen, standing 6 feet 6 inches tall and playing the outfield with legitimate defensive skills. He smashed 17 home runs in AAA, showing that he's got legitimate pop in his bat. But here's the concerning part. He really struggles at the plate overall, which is why, despite once being a highly ranked Cubs prospect, his stock has fallen considerably. The scouting report on Alcantara is basically a classic toolsy outfielder who hasn't quite put it all together yet. He's got the size, the athleticism, the defensive ability, and raw power, but the hit tool lags significantly behind. For a Dodgers team that prides itself on player development and getting the most out of acquired talent, Alcantara represents an interesting project. Maybe their hitting coaches can unlock something that the Cubs couldn't. Maybe a change of organization helps him figure out major league pitching. Or maybe he remains a perpetually tantalizing prospect who never quite reaches his ceiling. It's a gamble, but potentially a worthwhile one if the Dodgers believe in their development system. The alternative return option is Brandon Birdsell, a 25-year-old pitcher who brings his own set of opportunities and concerns. Birdsell had season-ending elbow surgery in August of 2025, which is obviously a significant red flag. But before that injury, he was absolutely dominating minor league hitters. In 2024, split between AA and AAA, Birdsell struck out 134 batters in 135 innings. That's basically a strikeout per inning, which is elite-level stuff. The kid can bring the heat, and when healthy, he's shown the ability to miss bats at an impressive rate. The catch, of course, is that elbow surgery and the uncertainty that comes with it. He's 25 years old and hasn't made his major league debut yet, which raises questions about his overall ceiling and development trajectory. For a Dodgers organization that seems to have an endless pipeline of pitching prospects and an uncanny ability to develop arms, Birdsell fits their profile perfectly. They can afford to be patient with his rehab, let him work his way back properly, and then see what they have. You can never have enough pitching, especially in an era where arm injuries are increasingly common and rotations need constant depth. So the Dodgers face an interesting decision. Do they want the player who's right on the cusp of breaking into the big leagues in Alcantara? A guy who's already got about 10 major league games under his belt with the Cubs and could potentially contribute in 2026? Or do they prefer Birdsell, the pitcher with explosive stuff who hasn't reached the majors yet and is coming off elbow surgery, but might have a higher ceiling if everything breaks right? Either way, it's clear that Bobby Miller's time with the Dodgers has reached its conclusion, and both sides are probably better off moving forward separately. While we're discussing roster moves and players potentially leaving, we absolutely have to address the Tommy Edman situation, because this could have massive implications for how the Dodgers construct their everyday lineup. Edman's surgically repaired ankle apparently isn't responding to treatment the way the medical staff had hoped, and there's growing speculation, though nothing official yet, that he might start the 2026 season on the injured list. If that happens, the Dodgers suddenly have a gaping hole at second base, and that position becomes one of the most pressing questions facing the organization heading into spring training. The revolving door at second base has been an ongoing issue for the Dodgers, and now it's potentially getting even more complicated. So who steps up if Tommy Edman can't go? The Dodgers have several options, each with their own strengths and limitations. Andy Pages, who the team signed away from the Detroit Tigers, is expected to serve as a utility player who can fill in at multiple positions, including second base. Miguel Rojas can slide over to second if needed, though that creates a domino effect throughout the infield. There's even Alex Freese, who has some experience at the Keystone, and in an absolute emergency, Mookie Betts could play second base, though the Dodgers would obviously prefer to keep their superstar in the outfield where he's more comfortable. But here's the name that keeps coming up in fan discussions and social media debates: Hae-Sung Kim. The Dodgers signed Kim to a pretty substantial contract out of Korea. This wasn't some bargain basement league minimum type deal, yet he's barely seen the field and hasn't been given a legitimate opportunity to prove what he can do at the major league level. It's genuinely puzzling why manager Dave Roberts hasn't incorporated Kim into that inner circle of trust, and we haven't gotten a satisfactory explanation from the organization about what's holding him back. When Kim first arrived at spring training last year, the Dodgers coaching staff indicated that the game was simply too fast for him at the major league level, that he needed time to adjust and develop in the minors. So he started the season in AAA, performed well, and proved he was a team player by attempting to learn outfield positions when Andy Pages was struggling with injuries. Eventually, Kim got called up to the big leagues, but even then, his usage was extremely limited. He wasn't even really a role player in the traditional sense. He was more of an emergency fill-in guy who only saw action when absolutely necessary. The frustrating part for fans is that when Kim does play, he shows legitimate skills that could help the team. He's a disruptor on the base paths with excellent speed and base-stealing ability. Defensively at second base, he's more than competent with good range and soft hands. He's even got a little pop in his bat, providing occasional extra base power that could be valuable in the right situations. So why hasn't he been given a real chance to claim a starting role? That's the million-dollar question, and Tommy Edman's injury situation might finally force the Dodgers' hand. If Edman does start the season on the injured list, this could be Hae-Sung Kim's moment. Maybe he gets the starting second base job against right-handed pitching and platooned with Andy Pages or Miguel Rojas against left-handers. At some point, the organization needs to make a definitive decision about Kim. They've invested in him, he's shown the tools, and now it's time to either commit to developing him as an everyday player or admit the signing didn't work out and move in a different direction. The phrase that keeps coming to mind is you've got to pee or get off the pot, and that applies to both Kim proving he belongs and the Dodgers giving him a legitimate opportunity to do so. Of course, everyone's hoping that Tommy Edman's ankle responds to treatment and he's ready for opening day. But if medical realities force him to the injured list, Hae-Sung Kim might finally get his shot to show what he can do with regular playing time. For a player with his skill set, speed, defense, a bit of power, that could be exactly what this Dodgers lineup needs, especially in the early months when they're trying to manage workloads and keep everyone fresh for the long season ahead. Spring training is rapidly approaching, with position players and pitchers reporting in mid-February, right around Valentine's Day for most teams. The World Baseball Classic participants have to report even earlier, on February 11th, before heading to their respective national team camps. Spring training games begin shortly after reporting dates, with all of this building toward that magical opening day on March 26th, when the Dodgers will raise their championship banner at Dodger Stadium and host the Arizona Diamondbacks in what promises to be an absolutely electric atmosphere. There are still so many storylines to monitor as we get closer to meaningful baseball. What happens with Tarek Skubal, whose arbitration hearing is coming up soon? Will Bobby Miller actually get traded to the Cubs? And which prospect will the Dodgers receive in return? How will Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Shohei Ohtani perform for Team Japan in the World Baseball Classic? And more importantly, will they come back to the Dodgers healthy and ready to chase another championship? Can Hae-Sung Kim finally earn Dave Roberts' trust and claim the second base job if Tommy Edman's ankle keeps him sidelined? The Dodgers are navigating an incredibly complex offseason filled with high-stakes decisions that could determine whether they achieve the ultimate goal of a three-peat or fall short of expectations. Every transaction, every injury update, every roster decision carries enormous weight for a franchise that has established itself as baseball's premier organization, but knows that maintaining that status requires constant adaptation and smart roster construction. This is the drama, the intrigue, the high-stakes chess match that makes following the Dodgers absolutely addictive. We're witnessing an organization trying to balance respecting their players' cultural commitments with protecting massive financial investments, trying to maximize talent while managing health and workload, trying to maintain championship standards while developing the next generation of stars. It's never boring, it's always fascinating, and we're here for every single twist and turn. So what do you think about all these developments? Are you worried about Yamamoto pitching in the World Baseball Classic? Or do you trust that the built-in protections will keep him healthy? Should the Dodgers trade Bobby Miller to the Cubs? And which prospect would you prefer in return, Alcantara or Birdsell? Is it finally time to give Hae-Sung Kim a real shot at playing time? Or should the Dodgers look elsewhere for second base help? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because this community thrives on passionate debate and diverse perspectives. If you enjoyed this deep dive into all the Dodgers drama, smash that like button to help this content reach more fans who are just as obsessed with this team as we are. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already so you never miss an update, because trust me, with this organization, there's always something major happening. Hit that notification bell to get alerted the moment we drop new content covering all the latest news, rumors, and analysis. Share this video with your fellow Dodgers fans, your baseball-loving friends. Heck, even share it with Giants fans, Padres fans, or Yankees fans, just to remind them which organization runs baseball right now. The more this community grows, the better the discussions become, and your engagement is what makes this channel special. Spring training is almost here, opening day is on the horizon, and the 2026 season is shaping up to be absolutely unforgettable. Let's ride this roller coaster together, celebrate the victories, analyze the decisions, and support this team through whatever challenges come their way. This is Dodgers baseball, where it's always championship or bust, where the expectations are sky high, and where we wouldn't want it any other way. Thanks for watching. Keep those comments coming, and remember, no matter what happens, we're all part of this incredible Dodgers community where it's always time for Dodger baseball.